Well, I got some vintage ammo here, actually. I had this for a while. I got some more, too. This is actually from the Korean War in 1940, prior to World War II even, manufactured. And what I did was I knocked the bullets out, the projectiles themselves, knocked out the powder, knocked out the primer, tumbled the brass. Yeah, it's got a little, looks, I guess it could polish it up, make it look pretty again. But, yeah, it was shiny when it was reloaded. And if you look on the back, let's see if I can get this under a magnifying glass or something. We could do it like that. See what this one says, if you could see that. Not sure if that's coming out. But they go back to 50. They're actually marked 40, 52, 40 something. This is the actual full metal jacket round that was used in World War II. Don't want to fire these. I just don't want to fire them. Kind of like nostalgic purposes, but I put them back to new condition again by knocking out the. There's a special hammer that grips the end of the cartridge case, and you hammer it down, and the projectile comes out, and you knock all the powder out, and you can put a new primer in it. Tumble the brass, clean it up, resize it, put a new primer in it, and resize it just to make sure everything's fine. Reload it with propellant, and then reinstall this the projectile itself. It's been quite a difference between what's happened in over the years. And like this is the actual battle pack they used to carry in World War II and Korean War. 80 rounds, 80 rounds of ammunition. You had these are 8 rounds. Each one of these C clips, like that. Now these are soft points. These are like loaded up 180 grains. I used Hodgdon 335. That's the most you can actually load 180 grains in this. You can't load Hodgdon 335 with 200 grains or 220, but 180 is actually quite sufficient for any kind of large game. These things are actually pretty quick to load. To load them up from the top, and when you put them down, I can't do this too well for one hand, but when you slap them down there, and you notice how quick that action closed. A lot of times they get that M1 Garand thumb, get your thumb caught in there. It's like wham. But to be quite honest, this was really too much rifle, even for World War I, World War II. A lot of Europeans, they use a 7mm Mauser, or they'll use the 6.5 Swedish. Also note how this goes in. It goes in, you have a snap over here for the rounds themselves. The only difficulty with these is that there's no like speed loader for them. But these will load in here quick because this pops out the top. That's one of the disadvantages, I guess, though, because the enemy knows you're out of ammo as soon as it pops out. That clip ejects out the top. But then you could slap one in there inside of a few seconds. But this was actually a marked breakthrough. But this is some ammo. I'm not going to be freaking. I'm never going to shoot this stuff up, even though I reloaded it, and I got some more of it someplace too. But in reality, my weapons though, I stuck with anything in a military cartridge, 30-06, 308. But in reality, the 7mm is better. It's the flight characteristics of the round itself that make the difference. And I'm going to tell you that. Our military found this out, but I'm going to tell you that they did not go with it, and it probably had a lot to do with because they had so much 30-06 ammunition from World War I. They did not go with it in World War II. They were studying this stuff back way before World War II, that a 6.5 or 7mm would be a lot more efficient. Even out at a distance, it works a lot better. But lo and behold, even the Russians, they copy us too, right? Here we got this is a 30 caliber, 7.62 Russian ammo, and this was a little more exotic when it, back in the day, but now it's all over the place. Maybe not. This is probably fairly exotic though. This might be, because this is some older stuff. I got some new stuff, but some older stuff I just don't fire it. But you got the stripper clips. That's the thing. You can put these in there. You can load them up pretty quick, just like with the 5.56. You got these with the stripper clips. I got a pile of stripper clips right here. I got loads of stuff, believe me. But I actually learned about this M1 Garand because actually my dad, that's him right there, he carried that back in the Korean War. And it's like, back in the 60s, when the M16 or the AR-15 was first coming out, it was brand new, and nobody was going with that thing. Everybody was calling it the mouse rifle and stuff, and times have changed. But if you get the M16 now, or the AR-15, actually the AR-15, and the Grendel round with the 6.5, you actually got a potent weapon there, actually. The flight characteristics of any 30 caliber round is nowhere near what a 6.5 round is, or a 7mm round. Nowhere near. It's kind of weird that the Russians copied us with the 30 caliber AK round and the SKS. It's just strange that they did that. But technology is something. Well, be quite honest, the rest of the world usually copies the United States. A lot of times the United States is right, though. But sometimes the United States is doing things because, that's what they got on hand. Or maybe it's just, I don't know, they just don't want to freaking do something new, That's another possibility. And, the world copies us. A good example is those pixelated freaking camouflage utilities. The new ones that came out with, everybody freaking copied. Freaking disaster, man. $5 billion disaster to the Army, right? But, what it really comes down is like in actual proven use, people figure out what's going on. And, if you look at this is how these are connected. It's a little bit of a different connector. I don't know if people are familiar with this. But it's just like that. It's a loop. And it goes right on this. You got to put it on the corner like that, and it slides in there, and it holds together. This actually, I was taking this to the range sometimes, screwing around with it. Obviously, I didn't use this in the military, but this thing actually is a pretty potent weapon. I was kind of got a lot of respect for it. I even got an extra barrel for it. The bayonet I got for it, the cleaning kit. I got some of the tools where I can change the barrel too if I need to. But this barrel was pretty good shape. I don't know when the hell where this thing was. Originally developed, came from the United States, but probably went over to South Korea, and they sold it back here, and then I got it. And I kind of finished up the wood a little bit, but it's no show gun or nothing. It's a shooter. That's what the hell it is. But the times have changed. Like even if you go back to the Confederacy, my family was in the Confederacy way back, and American Revolutionary War way back. Technology has changed over the years, and you look at some of the rounds they were using back in the Civil War, or a war between the states, or the War of Northern Aggression. The 50 caliber mini ball, which is after Minet, the French guy, was a hell of a lot bigger than this. This was considered puny, 30-06. This was considered puny. So things are freaking getting smaller and smaller. I don't have the 5.56 round out here right now, but I want to tell you that the 5.56 round is actually, some people, man, they get all bent. I can tell you one thing, the bigger is better. You can get a 50 cal too, but it is a hell of a lot more weight to carry these rounds around the AK-47. Now, I got a lot of respect for the Grendel, and I think the Russians might come out with that eventually. They're probably going to produce it, I think, more than the United States. I don't know. They got a lot more flexibility in some ways, but because it's based off the Russian casing. It's based off the Russian casing. We developed it here, though. But the round that the M16 round, the reason that thing is so effective is the speed. There's two different things that are actually going on here. Over 2,000 feet per second, it actually causes the cells around where the wound is to explode like tiny pockets of balloons, like balloons actually. So there's far more cellular damage than first appears. Actually, they had pictures of this stuff back in the 60s that were classified when they were first, seeing what the rifle did in Vietnam, and they were classified all for the next 25 years. Because they didn't want that information going out to the enemy. How much damage the little round was doing. This is the AK-47 I'm showing here, but I'm talking about the M16 round or the AR-15. The other feet per second level, besides the 2,000 feet per second, is about 2,600 feet per second. At 2,600 feet per second, that's why the A1 in some ways is more lethal than the A2 at short distances with the 55 grain with the A1. At over 2,600 feet per second, the round will actually fragment, goes off in different directions. There's a couple other things that go on. The round could tumble, the round could hit sideways, the round could hit with the rear of the round, and then take off in a different direction in the body. But sometimes those things don't happen. But usually at very close quarters, 100 meters or 100 yards. I know about 1,760 yards to a mile, roughly 800 meters to a half a mile, 880 yards to a half a mile. I know all that stuff. I mean, some people try to gig me on, we don't use yards anymore. Well, I was able to calculate that shit in my head when I was 16 years old like nothing, so it's not a big deal either way. I like using yards myself more, but big deal. Either way, it's not hard for me to calculate. But, when you're within, say, 100 meters or say, 100, whatever that is, 110, 115 yards, whatever that would be, that round for the A1 is actually extremely lethal due to fragmenting. The fragmenting of the round, besides it going over 2,000 feet per second and causing actually the cells in the body to rupture. The A1 round is actually 3,200 feet per second approximately out of the muzzle. The A2 round, the green tip ammo was 62 grains. The other ammo was 68, 69 grains. The A1 round, that's on the A2. The A1 round is 55 grains. I think this was a 147 grain. And then, they changed this over to the 7.62 by 51 millimeter NATO. But they're not. They really should be sticking with around a 6 to 7 millimeter. Actually, the M16 round, if it was even just a hair bigger than that, it would be a lot better. If they could just make it just a hair bigger and keep that speed up. And maybe not the Grendel, but maybe something else. I don't know. There's a lot of room for improvement. And, this was considered a puny round when it came out. And later on, they found out that over 2,000 feet per second was causing far more damage than like the 45-70 Long Colt or whatever they were using before that. And even though the energy was about the same, that crap, when you're looking at these energy charts, well, give you an example. If you had a spear and had 50 pounds of energy, and you had a big Nerf ball with 50 pounds of energy. If the Nerf ball hits you with the 50 pounds of energy and a spear hits you with 50 pounds of energy, one's going to do a lot more damage than the other. It really doesn't. The energy doesn't really have too much to do with a lot of stuff. It actually has to do with, what actually goes through and how much damage it does, and speed and velocity has a lot to do with what goes on in human tissue. And I know back in Civil War between the states, totally different technology. Back in the American Revolution, and firing muskets. I mean, I had 3 members of my family. I go all the way back, man. I go all the way back to my original, when it came over. It was in the 1600s in the early colonies in Virginia, and he was a blacksmith from the UK. So, but one reason I'm probably not getting brainwashed by the communist bullshit, even though when I went to college, I freaking loathed hearing that shit from my professors sometimes. And I guess you can't change what's been ingrained in your DNA for a long period of time. That's what I'm really figuring out. So anyway, just want to tell you that, you know, some of these rounds here, if you ever come across these in gun shows or anything like that, you might want to scuff them up. Just keep them. You can always reload them, but I wouldn't fire them. I wouldn't fire these. But it's kind of cool having some stuff back from the World War II or the Korean War. And you know, if you look at some of the other things that are out here, they're stamped a little bit different on the back. They'll say like 30-06 Springfield and stuff. The military ammo actually has a year of manufacture on it. Like those will say 40, 52, 41. I don't know if it's showing up too good. It's kind of hard to see if it's going to show up on that camera. There's another one here. Might be focusing. This one here, some go, one it's a 52, I think. One goes all the way back to 40. But you know, it's kind of wild that sometimes they'll have this stuff, like another country might have this, and they'll have it in, you know, packed up, and you know, stuff will still fire 50 years later. I just didn't want to take a chance with this shit, so I put new powder in it, you know. But I ain't firing them. I ain't firing these damn things, man. No way. But if you look at some of the other ones, see if I got, take one out of here. See, that's the thing with these, you know, you can't speed load these little clips, man. These little D clips, whatever the hell they are. I don't think you can speed load them. Probably says like 30-06 Springfield or something. Or, you know, they're marked different. They're marked different from like with the military marks. And but you know, this is a good weapon system, I can tell you right now. I got a lot of respect for this, man. You know, the Garand, and the guy that developed it, shit. You know, and the guy never got any money for it too. If there's one thing that probably saved the war for the United States, was this damn rifle. I don't want to call it a damn rifle, but they were calling it a damn rifle on the other side. Probably would have been even better if it was a 7mm or 6.5mm. Fire 10 shots maybe. You know, if you could jam them in there, make it a little lighter. Because this thing does have some fairly good recoil on it. But usually 30-06 is about the upper limit for most people that they could fire, get used to firing up, you know, with the recoil. I know, I mean, I fired the 300 Win mags and a 338 lapel and whatever the fuck that thing is. I forgot what it was. Winchester Magnum, I'll call it that. And you know, I fired a lot of stuff that was bigger than that. Actually, this thing doesn't kick anywhere near as like a 12 gauge slug gun or anything, but it's still got a pretty good kick. And you know, that's part of the reason why we went to smaller ammo too. Besides, but we got the lethality, and we also got the follow-up shot really fast. So you know, I figured I'd point out a couple tidbits on this. I'm gonna probably put some more videos out on this kind of stuff. I got a lot of knowledge in this, and I kind of didn't know where I was going on this video in the beginning. But there's so much stuff I can actually tell you, and even some of the things that you need to do when you're cleaning a weapon. Kind of mentioned that in another video, but there's other stuff I got that you actually stick in the chamber so your cleaning rod doesn't screw nothing up. There's a lot of stuff that I use that because you'll screw up a barrel fast with a cleaning rod. Very careful with these weapons to make sure they work flawlessly. And everything's been function checked. You know, all magazines and everything I got, everything's been function checked plenty of times. I mean, plenty of times. This thing actually is very, very reliable. Very reliable. Got a lot of respect for the M1 Garand. And you know, that's why I don't want to fire some of this ammo, man. It's World War II vintage and Korean War vintage. So there you go, right? So keep the faith. That's all I got to say.